Someone didn't have my 6 last night. It happened again. And we're going to go up here and see if we can't find this culprit. Okay. I've gone back into the house to grab a towel. It's been made clear to me I'm too sexy for YouTube, so I hope YouTube forgives me the first few seconds, the opening scene of this video. But I wasn't thinking about a shirt. I was thinking about this massive mess him, her, it, or they made here last night while I slept, or while I read, or while I finished watching a not so good movie. It's called The Werewolves Within. It was like streaming on Amazon. It was good enough to kind of keep watching, but not really good enough to really get into. I should have been out here watching the firewood instead of watching that. I now relate to so many people who watch some of my videos when they say that's time they'll never get back. That movie was not that good, but it had Lily, the AT&T girl, in it, and she's cute, so I kept watching. All right. I just got finished running. It's not so much hot yet, but it is very humid. It's only about 8 o'clock in the morning, even though you're seeing this video in the evening if you're watching it as soon as it's published. Got to schedule it to upload later. I have a busy day today, and it wasn't supposed to start out by trying to find the him, her, it, or they that potentially knocked over my firewood pile yesterday. I've been working so hard on that, trying to get this area clean before my wonderful family gets back from the Philippines, which should be less than a week now. And they came over and they knocked over the firewood pile like they do so often. And no, it wasn't stacked incorrectly. And I really hope you're watching up here for movement, okay? We're going up here because I got to tell them to stop knocking over the firewood pile. So I'm going to walk and talk as I go. We're going to go up this way. I know how to stack firewood. I've been doing this most of my adult life, not just the last 6 years that I've had this homestead, but I used to burn wood in the house I had down here the first time I lived here. I had a fireplace. So anyway, there's a theory out there that when they do this, a lot of folks have said that they're trying to get my attention. And a lot of folks, a big percentage of those people have said what it is, they're upset that I've stopped gifting. One of the dangers with gifting these entities is that you kind of develop an entitlement mentality within them that they feel as if they should always get it. You gave it to them once, well, you should give it to them again and again and again. Just typical entitlement mentality. Well, I've gifted off and on, but I haven't been consistent with it, as you know, if you follow the channel. So I'm thinking, is this some kind of sign or some kind of hint that they want me to begin gifting again up here at the campground where I've gifted in the past? I don't know. But what I know is it's frustrating them knocking over my firewood pile. But I'm going to turn it positive now because I actually had something I wanted to talk about today. It wasn't about cryptozoological creatures knocking over my firewood piles. Oh, it is everywhere. So in the mornings, after my run or my bike, as I walk around, do my cool down, I just eat these berries. I've been calling them blackberries. They're not. They're wild black raspberries. Very close. Blackberries are actually a little bit bigger and a little bit sweeter. The wild black raspberries, kind of tart, but they're still delicious. Okay. I'm going to piggyback today, as we're looking around for these things, on a story that I kind of told within a story yesterday. I would title this maybe Wisdom of Our Elders. But I can't title the video that because no one will watch it. I've got to use the word Bigfoot Sasquatch in the title in order to get a crap ton of people to actually watch the video. Wait a minute, it isn't, no. Because this video is about that too, so that's just how it goes. That's social media, brah. That's how it works. Don't hate the player, hate the game, brah. Okay? I'm just playing a game. So anyway, I was talking yesterday about aged people in my community. It's a very positive-minded, very healthy, very physically active community. So I don't even want to use the word elderly when I'm referring to these people in their 70s and 80s and even 90s. And I got a story about a 94-year-old man today for you. Alive and well, dancing till midnight every night. I just talked to him couple weeks ago. They have a youthful, it's contagious. And inversely, so is negativity, so is lethargy, so is sedentarism, all these things. But I was running this morning, and I was thinking about how, here's the story. My beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and myself and our son, we love to take family walks 5 or 6 days a week. Sometimes we'll do it out here in the country. Sometimes we'll go into town and do it, walk across the university or go to various parts of the town, downtown mall or whatever. We'll walk for an hour, hour and a half, and we'll get something to eat if we're in town. Have a blast. Time goes by like that because we're talking the whole time. Well, I think it was like back in January, and we have very mild winters here. So there was a day back in January, Dearly and I were splitting firewood, and Daniel was helping us. Pine, like Bigfoot Sasquatch potentially knocked over down there this morning. We were hauling it up here to the campground because we burn the pine in our campfires. Okay, people have been asking about that. We have the luxury of being able to be firewood snobs now because we've got so much red oak predominantly. Inside the house, we just burn hardwood, so we don't have to worry about the creosote so much, and it burns hotter, it burns longer, it burns cleaner. But we use that pine for our campfires, for when we have social gatherings. All right, that was a motorcycle. I thought that was a growl for a minute. That would have been a very creepy growl. So anyway, we hauled the pine up here, right? We're unloading it out of the back of the truck. And that time of year, you can see 5 houses for 5 months out of the year when the leaves are off. But now when the leaves are on, like this time of year, you can't see any unless if you stand in you got to go to specific locations to see them. And even then it's hard. But here's my point. We noticed, we noticed somebody in one of these places had like their elderly parent with them, like in their 80s. And they can barely walk. They're using a walker and they needed help. And I would hate to be in that situation. I would never judge anybody who was in that situation. But I remember seeing that, and I said to my wife, I said, oh my God, I don't want to get old. And she said, that doesn't have to be you. And I thought, well, that's true, but there's so many stuff out of our control. Hey, there's people that run marathons that have accidents, and that just happens too, okay? So I am not judging. Anybody can experience anything, and anything can happen to anybody. So I'm going to leave it at that, okay? But here's what I do know about, and I'm not trying to be degrading, I'm just telling it like it is. What I know about those folks is that they kind of look down their noses at anything that might cause one to perspire, like exercise. Seriously. They bragged once about how they don't run and would never run, and it's for the lower classes. They don't believe in manual labor, physical labor. The man doesn't believe in any sort of labor or any sort of work because he's got people to support him, so why would he work? But that's kind of like the general attitude, the general mentality. So I have to wonder, did they get that from the previous generation? And if so, is this a result of a life of being sedentary because perspiring is for the lower classes? So anyway, that afternoon, me and my wife and our son, we went for our walk. And we were walking out here in the country out this way. And we're walking down the road, and we see this woman coming from half a mile away. We're on a straightaway. And she's just swinging her arms, and she was dressed. She was wearing like athletic clothing, but it was nice athletic clothing. Looked really spiffy. And as she got closer, you could tell she even had some makeup on. And I would have thought she was probably 60, 65 years old. So, oh, by the way, I apologize for that snot rocket I blew in the last video. I was supposed to edit that out. I was trying to talk, and I had the snots coming out because there's pollen or something out here this time of year. So I stepped off the side of the camera and just blew a loud, ruckus snot rocket. And I made a mental note to make sure to go back and edit that part out. But then I didn't get around to like uploading that video until hours later, and I'd completely forgotten about it. And then I read in the comments, somebody wrote, hey, nice loud snot rocket. So I apologize for my indiscretion. Okay, so anyway, this woman catches up. We meet. She's coming this way. We're going that way. We end up stopping and talking for a few minutes. And I'm going to get right to it. This woman was 82 years old. 82 years old. And she looked 60, and she was walking faster than me and my 33-year-old wife and my 10-year-old son. Okay? And I asked her, because listen, older folks, older people, somebody just threw something at us. We're up at the campground. We're just behind the campground in the woods. This is the gifting area. So keep getting my 6. But listen, here's my point. Older people, like especially 80 or over, they are gold mines. Gold mines. No matter who they are. And listen, I'm going to tell you this. They can be gold mines in one of 2 different ways. They can be gold mines in regards to showing us the way, or they can be gold mines in showing us which way is not the way. And I will explain. I will explain here. So I'm talking to this woman like, oh my gosh, I thought you were like 60. And she laughed and she said flattery would get me everywhere. And she was a beautiful woman. But I said to her, I asked her, I said, what is the key? And I mentioned to her, I said, we saw a woman about your age this morning that was using a walker and needed assistance on top of that to get out of the car and into a house. How is it that you're different than her? And she said what I've already said. Well, you never know what happened to people. You never know people's stories. Okay, so you can't just say, well, you know, the next generation's kind of lazy, so maybe it came from that. That's not always true, because you just got some hardworking people that end up having some lazy kids, and you got some hardworking kids that have lazy parents. Listen, remember the book The Lunatic. You can't see 5% of a situation and think you know the other 95% of the story. And if you haven't read that book, your life is not as fulfilling as it could be. Read The Lunatic. You can get it on Amazon, print or Kindle. And tomorrow, as of this recording, I think I'm going to have another 25 print copies here that I'll list on Etsy the minute I get them. I'll post about it in the community page so you'll know. So I autograph those. Anyway, but she told me, she said, but what I've done, she says, I have stayed active my entire life. To this day, she walks twice a day. She walks 2 miles every morning and she walks 2 miles every afternoon. And talked to her some more, and I thought, well, she must be of the lower classes to walk like that. And been walking all these, there's no way she could, you know, be comfortable with her status in life. Well, it turns out her and her husband are retired. Her husband, when he was working, was the head of an entire department at the University of Virginia. And I'm not going to say which one because I don't want to out these people. People that live around me watch these videos. And I don't want to, breach anybody's confidentiality. Okay, and then she ran another department. They retired, wanted to get out of town, moved out into the country, bought almost 100 acres and built a brand new house when they were 70. They weren't sitting around waiting to die. Here they are. They're saying, hey, we don't have to work anymore. We've done well. Trust me, they are not of the lower classes. I'll tell you, okay, do the math. Where I live, land costs $30 per acre. Times that by almost 100 and then put a brand new house on it. All right, so anyway, she said the key is staying busy, is staying active. So there's the tale of those 2 ladies, the difference. Barring anything, maybe the other woman fell. We never want to act like we know someone's entire story because we don't. Some people that in the past I thought maybe I didn't think very much of them. Once I learned their story, I realized they were amazing people. And others thought highly of. I learned their story and I realized, it's not really much there. So you never know. Judge not, right? Now, these other couples, listen. I was in town a couple weeks ago and I'm going to tell you where I went because I want you guys to go get ice cream off this older couple. There's a Tractor Supply store at Pantops. And if you're from Charlottesville, and I know there's dozens of you at least that watch these videos that are, because you say hi to me when you see me in public sometimes. You know what I'm talking about. Well, there's like this little ice cream stand right there in the parking lot of Tractor Supply. And I was down there and I looked over and I saw this little old man get up from a picnic table and walk into that stand. And I got so excited because I know that guy. I met him a few years ago when I was down there getting ice cream with my wife and my son. And I think his name's Carl. I mean, I don't know him well, okay? I've talked to him that once for about half an hour. And when I saw him that day, I felt so happy to know that he was still among the living. So after I went inside, I got some new chainsaw chains. Here's what I learned about that new Husqvarna 455 Rancher. It's got a 20-inch bar, but you can't just buy a 20-inch chain for it, even if it's a Husqvarna chain. You've got to make sure the package of that chain says that that 20-inch chain is specifically for that 455 Rancher. Because I guess they've got different models, and the norm, whatever, there's a 20-inch chain they make that doesn't fit the Rancher, so I had to go back and get more. But after I got my chains, I went over to talk to him and his wife. He's 94 and his wife is 82 or 80, but they both work at that stand full-time, like in late spring through the summer through early fall. And then in the winter, they have a house in Florida, and they go down there and they go on cruises every winter throughout the Caribbean. And one of their favorite things to do is dance. She's in her 80s, he's in his 90s. And they go on Caribbean cruises every winter and they dance until midnight. They dance until 1 o'clock in the morning. So I went over to say hi to them again, and they remembered me despite dealing with thousands and thousands of people and only having met me and talked to me once. They remembered me. We talked for about half an hour, and they told me to bring my wife and kid by when they got back from the Philippines. And again, I asked the lady in particular, because the guy was going over to get in the car, they were going home. I said, listen, I know that people of your age and with your experiences are gold mines of wisdom. What advice can you give me at my age to help me make sure I'm going the way you went, so that when I'm your age, I'm still positive? I'm looking forward to my next cruise. When it starts getting cold, I'm looking forward to going to Florida, or just whatever. I enjoy winters here for the most part. I enjoy just cranking up the heat in that wood stove and laying down on the couch with a book and falling asleep. And she told me, she said, listen, she says, don't waste your time doing stuff that you don't want to do. She says she's seen so many people in life that'll get a job that they hate, that they're not happy with, and they just won't leave it. They think, well, I got to keep it. I got to have this to take care of my family. There's other jobs out there you can have to help you take care of your families, and you don't have to hate them. And I thought, well, yeah, I get that. And I remember when I was in a situation a few years back, I had a job I hated that made me miserable. It was when I was a mail carrier for the post office in Charlottesville. It's not so much the post office as it is at least how that one was run. Totally understaffed. Half the people that do work there full time are constantly calling out sick, and they can't fire them because there's a union that protects. I will bite my tongue at this point. Okay, so but anyway, I was like, okay, I get it. I was in that situation. I got out, and she goes, listen, she goes, learn to identify the people who are just sour apples. She said, if they're negative, if they're not positive, if they're not happy with their life, and if they're miserable and they want to bring you down, identify them quickly, stay away from them, no matter who they are. And I told her, I said, I've learned to do that, but just in recent years. And I said, it kind of sucks when some of these people are supposed to kind of be supportive of you. They're supposed to be close to you. There's supposed to be this thing called unconditionality. And she goes, I know. She goes, that's the toughest. But she goes, listen, it's not worth it. She goes, get away from them too. If you spend some time apart and you reach out and they're not willing to reciprocate, or if they're still the same way they were, stay away, because you're worth the positivity that you want to have in your life, the achievements you want to achieve, the success you want to have, the joy, the utter happiness you want to experience when you're with your family doing the things you love. You don't deserve anybody pulling you down away from that, okay? And she said that's what she's done, and so she doesn't waste her time with them, because then those can be some of the most dangerous people to be around, especially, for instance, like somebody, and this is just examples, I'm using examples, people come into your life and they say, wow, last time I saw you, you weren't doing too well, and now you've got that vast estate out there right outside of Charlottesville. Come on now, you're renting that, aren't you? Can you afford the rent on a place like that? And you're like, well, actually, I bought it. Who you expect to believe that? That kind of thing. It's like, wow. It's like I've done something. I've kind of bettered myself. I've gotten to this point, and all you want to do is drag me. You want to say it's not even true, it's not even real, and you want to drag me down. Well, I don't deserve that. And the woman pointed out, we don't deserve that. So what we need to do is sometimes some of the people we reach out for, if they're not willing to reach back to the degree, it's not a cardinal sin. You're not going to hell. You are not going to burn in hell's fire with the devil doing things with his pitchfork you'd prefer he would not be doing to you because you're happy. Millions of children a year do not choke on smiles. Life is meant to be lived, not existed. And listen, here's the problem when you're not living. I'm going to wrap it up with this. Negativity will age you. It will make you sick. It will kill you. A negative, unhealthy mindset will give you cancer. I am convinced of that because that's what you're drawing from the universe into your system. If you're not one of those people, stay away from those that are, no matter who they are. And So this is wisdom given to me by an 80 or 82-year-old woman that goes dancing until midnight every night during the winter when she's on cruises in the Caribbean. So, wow. Back to our original point of this story. Remember I said that there have been people that have said him, her, it, or they will often knock down those firewood piles to get our attention because they want us to start gifting again? And this is the gifting spot. We gift just inside the tree line, but this general area I've gifted on these logs. Look what I just found. Him, her, it, or they potentially have gifted us field rats. So they knock down the firewood pile to get our attention. And then up here at the gifting spot, there's gifts of field rats. Gonna have to try to figure this one out. But listen, when I was running, I was thinking about these aged people. I was thinking about the one that can barely stand up. And then I was thinking about the one that walks 4 miles a day every day. Oh, and the 82-year-old woman, I asked her too. The ice cream woman, I asked her if she exercised. She said, of course I do. She said when the world went on shutdown because of COVID, you know what she would do? She would bike 8 miles every morning and walk 4 miles every afternoon. She lives in a subdivision. She says it's a 4-mile loop all the way around her neighborhood. She said she would ride her bike 2 loops in the morning, so that gave her 8 miles. And then every evening, her and her stepdaughter, who's in her like 60s, I think, or 50s, and her grandkids would walk the loop. So that's 4 miles. So here's this 82-year young woman putting in 12 miles a day of exercise. Now, I was thinking about that when I was running. It's humid. I'm sweating. I'm in the South. Got a lot going on today. I got company coming but I thought, I'm running. Now, I just need to stick with this. And as I do age, I know I'm going to slow down and eventually I'll be jogging. And at some point I'll slow down from there and I'll be walking. And at some point from there, I might just have to stick to the mountain bike, which I don't mind because I love to bike too. And I see people in their 70s and 80s biking by here all the time. But I thought at least by doing what I'm doing now and staying active like these other folks who have set the way before me I have options. If I were just sitting around on my butt looking down at the concept of sweating. And by the way, these people that view that as being for the lower class, I think they're socioeconomically kind of in that situation once you back out the parental aid. Yeah. Once the parents are gone, they're just going to be in that situation. But these other people certainly are not of the lower classes by any means. It's just snobbery. It has nothing to do with socioeconomic status. Some people are lazy and they just want to justify it by making it look like something's beneath them when the fact of the matter is they're just too lazy to do it. So I know that. I get that. But my point is, when you're running, you have options. But if you're just sitting there, if you're just sitting still, you know what your next option is? Lying down. If I were writing it in a book, lying down. But I'm speaking, so I'll say laying down. You know what comes after that? being buried. Get busy living or get busy dying. See you for more next time. This episode was the PBS. The potential Bigfoot Sasquatch show.